Welcome back to SoFlo Taste, our ceviche show. The last ceviche I wanted to teach you all is a classic ceviche, but it's probably my all-time favorite. We got this beautiful grouper from Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. It's just gorgeous. To make the safest ceviche with fish, you should really just freeze the fish overnight or flash freeze it. So buy a beautiful fresh fish so that you know what you're buying, so that you can smell it when you're buying it. You can talk to the fisherman or you can talk to the butcher, but I quickly freeze it overnight to make sure that I am killing off whatever might have ever been in this fish. This fish could easily be eaten raw as is, however, I just go that extra step. So you take a fresh piece of fish like this. This is grouper, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it into smaller pieces, probably about 3/4 of an inch large, because it's truly the star of the dish, and I didn't want to cut it too small because this is all about this beautiful fish. So it has a beautiful pink hue to it, and we just want to show it off. Everything goes into a bowl that happens to be sitting in a bowl of ice water, because you want to always keep it as cold as possible. Obviously, before you start cutting, you want to go through the fish, make sure all the scales are gone, all the little pin bones are out of there, because you don't want to find any bones in your ceviche. Be picky about what fish you use for ceviche, and try not to ever buy a farm-raised fish for ceviche, because it will end up tasting just like that, the farm it came from, rather than the spectacular fish that it is. The first and most important thing I'm going to do is season this fish, because this starts the curing process of the fish. So I'm putting a really nice amount of kosher salt into it and mixing it around. And that kind of starts what I call the curing process of the ceviche. Now let's talk about all the other great stuff that goes into this. So we have a very tiny dice of peeled ginger, of course, fresh ginger. I have a nice spicy chili. Now we used green habaneros or Scotch bonnets, but if you want to, you can use jalapeno for a more subtle heat, or a serrano for a little bit more, habanero or Scotch bonnet being, of course, the strongest. Celery, I talk about this a lot. Celery is probably the most essential ingredient to a traditional ceviche. They use a lot of celery in ceviches in Peru, but sometimes even celery juice can go into a ceviche. Red onions. A lot of people like to cover their ceviche with raw red onions. I personally like to mix raw red onion julienne into my ceviche. So mix it together to make sure everything gets evenly distributed. Now just to finish, I'm going to add the lime juice, and that only needs to marinate from 5 minutes up to 30, no longer than that. It's not like we're actually trying to make the fish more translucent with the lime juice. And I'm only going to add up until about a quarter to the most, a third of the way up the fish. And then finally, I'm just going to add a little bit of fresh garlic to it for flavor, but a really tiny amount. This is like maybe a quarter of a garlic clove. I love the very faint flavor of the garlic. Okay, that's a really small amount, really cut up fine. Lastly, some fresh chopped cilantro, always the last thing that goes in, because you want it to be really crisp and really fresh by the time it goes in there. Not a huge amount, sliced nice and thin, and there you have it. Finally, I'll just mix that all together. We brought some fun Peruvian corn for you to see it today. It's beautiful. So I'll serve my fish ceviche, and it's so pretty and soft looking. I love that my onions have marinated and softened a little bit. And serve it with a nice side of these chilled and tender kernels of huge, pretty corn. And there you have it, my traditional fish ceviche from me to you. I'll see you in a minute. I want to thank all of you for joining me today, and I want to thank Sam Gorenstein from My Ceviche for joining me too. I love ceviche, and I hope this SoFlo taste has made you a raving fan too. If you didn't see the whole show today, you can see it anytime at SoFloTaste.com or again tomorrow night at midnight. Next week's SoFlo Taste is a tribute to the Italian-inspired dish made by alternating layers of delicious. I'm celebrating National Lasagna Day on next week's SoFlo Taste. Now let's see what's next on SoFlo Home Project. Good morning, Martin.
Hi Michelle, summer break is synonymous with relaxing and simply taking time off, right? Well, that's not the case for one daughter on the next SoFlo Home Project. I am putting her to work as we surprise her parents by decorating 2 spaces in her home. You don't want to miss it. Lots of homework for her.
Great, Martin, we'll be watching. So Taste Buds, have a great week, and I'll see you here next Saturday on SoFlo Taste. I love ceviche.